I've seen marriages end not due to lack of love, but due to lack of no tools to deal with the trauma that they've both been facing. And so our hope is when we walk away from this conversation today, we will start on what tools we can use to have these conversations. And then I've been invited back next week, and so we'll really get a little bit deeper into it. Amen?
Amen.
So the story I want to talk to you all about is the story of Joseph. Now, again, let's just have I almost want to sit down. If I were not on video, I'd probably be seated. The story I want to talk to you about is about Joseph. You all know the story of Joseph, coat of many colors, and ended up being in the palace, etc. But let's go back to his origin story, his childhood. Joseph was the product of a marriage between Jacob, Leah, and Rachel. Now, Jacob, you all know, wanted to marry Rachel. Saw Rachel, said, oh, she's beautiful, I gotta marry her. Her father, Laban, said, work 7 years, you can have her. He worked 7 years, got to his wedding night, got married, uncovered the veil, it's Leah. Now just imagine if you're Leah and the person who is marrying you didn't want you, but wanted your sister. So that is trauma experience 1 for Leah. So Jacob goes back to Laban and says, what happened? This doesn't work. This doesn't work for this. Is not what we agreed to. Although Jacob knew, because it's custom that the youngest daughter does not get married before the older daughter. So he had to know that the older daughter had to go first. So they agreed to work another 7 years, finish out the week, because back in the Bible days, you party for a week. Finish out the week, I'll give you Rachel, you agree to work another 7 years. He did. Now here's where the trauma started in Joseph's life. Leah realized, I'm not loved. I want to do something to get my husband's attention. Decided, well, I'll give him a baby. I can't tell you how many couples I have coached, counseled, talked to, where they thought that response would work. If I just have a baby, all my troubles will go away. I even have someone in my family, close family, who said, if I have a baby, I'll have someone to love. Now imagine that works for the person doing it, but it does not work for the baby. Because you now were brought into this world to satisfy someone else's need, which means it becomes difficult for you to be yourself. Because I gotta be who you created me to be for you, not who God created me to be for me. Now imagine growing up in that environment. First kid, that does not work. So she says, I've got a bride right here. I'll try it again. And the second kid, it doesn't work. And the third kid, it doesn't work. Now, even though these children turned out to be great leaders of tribe, because she had Reuben, she had Judah, she had Levi, and the Levitical priesthood, the lineage of Christ came through Judah, all of those things. But as a child, as children, they didn't feel that, and they didn't see that. Instead, when the younger brother, Joseph, was born, now Jacob says, this is the child, this is my favorite. How many of you got brothers and sisters? Were there any favorites in here? No hands. So you know what it's like to grow up in the house and not be the favorite son or the favorite daughter. When I was the child who was imagine if you walked into a teacher's classroom, you know that kid whose desk is right next to the teacher? Yeah, that was me. What do you do when you're growing up in a home and mom and dad are at each other's throats? Or mom and dad basically had you to make mom and dad feel better about themselves. So you are the product of not love necessarily, you're the product of need. And that is what a lot of our kids who come to Circle Urban Ministries, who we talk to even outside of Circle Urban Ministries, are experiencing, and they have no idea how to deal with it. They have no language to deal with it. We really are just learning language to respond to them. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think a trauma response looks like? It, from the kid's point of view, feels like mom and dad are not on the same page about loving me. What do I do? That's exactly right. That is why kids join gangs. Because I don't have the camaraderie, the love, the joy in the house. But that is a need. That is not a want. We are biologically created to seek that. And so, gangs, outside of the home, etc., promise that. When I grew up, I joined gang. That's what they promised. Now, I had mom and dad at home. But what I did not have was the support of mom and dad from my vantage point. That's how I felt. And so when I went outside the house, I was big man on campus. And so I had their love, their support. So I thought. And so that's what happens. Now, how do we have conversations with kids who feel like they're not accepted or celebrated in the house? And that's where I want to start our conversation. Everybody has this as their need. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs from the beginning. So here's what we're taught. Physiological needs come first. Then you build on that and need safety, right? And then you build on that to friendship, family, belonging. And then that helps you create self-esteem. And then you get to self-actualization. What they don't tell us is that's for adults. Okay? That is for adults. When you're a child, it's actually flipped upside down. The first thing you want as a child or need is self-actualization. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? Kids are asking that questions at age 8, 9, 10, when they're really able to form those real complex thoughts about who am I, where am I going? So let's show what this looks like. See? This is what it looks like as a child. Because, think about it. Your physiological needs as a child, depending upon the household you came from, are met. You're not the one worried about where's the food coming from, where's the water coming from. If that's what you're worried about at a young age, it is immediate trauma. And a lot of our kids, their pyramids don't start like this. Their pyramids are here, and that is traumatic from the beginning. Because for a child to have to be worried about where's the food, water, warmth, and rest coming from, those are adult worries.